Let's Talk with Pat Williams, managing member of CyberCletch, your marketing management team.
Back to you.
And where do you see this going in the future? Do you see it maintaining? Do you see it changing? Do you see more things like the best stuff happening?
It's I'd like to see that. That's my biggest frustration is how do I? It's funny, no matter how long I've done it, the size of the back channel stays pretty consistent. Almost on any given night, I'll have between 50 and 70 people, and it may not be the same 50 or 70, but it's almost always that number of people who contribute during the course of an
Just
evening.
so you know, I'm usually there. Sometimes
Yeah,
I'm not on the back channel, but I am watching.
And I know a lot of people are like that I don't know they're there. And
Yeah.
I'll actually have people, when I thank them at the end of the evening, say, hey, you forgot to thank me. And I'll say,
Did you talk?
I'm sorry I didn't see you in the communication. If I don't see your name, I don't know you're there. And so,
but I waved at the TV.
I know. I said, as much as I would like to get that far advanced, I don't know you're there if you don't tell me you're there. So anyway, I see it. I would like to see it get bigger. I would like to see us do more things, because one of the first things I learned in this communication when people started talking, we finally got past the "Are you wearing pants?" stage. You know, and I'd say, "Yeah, I'm really wearing pants." And they'd say, "Are you really? Is that really you?" And I'd say, "Yeah, I'll tug my ear, you know," and I do. And then he's, "Wow, he tugged his ear. It really is him." When I got past all that, what I started hearing from people is, you know, the same exact thing over and over again. Why do you do so much bad news?
Oh, yeah.
And when I started hearing that a lot, I said, you know, you're right. We do, but do me a favor, find me good news, because the way our formula works in television is for every minute of good news I put in the newscast, I have to shove a minute of bad news out. We can't make time.
Yeah.
So my mission has been, and I tell my bosses this outright, so my mission is to find every good story that we can possibly find, to the point where the only bad news gets on the air is the stuff we just absolutely can't ignore.
Is that where Detroit 2020 came from?
That's where Detroit, our general manager came in and wanted to start something. And I've never had this direct conversation to say, hey, you know, 2020 sounds a lot like backchannel, but I know it is, because we had that conversation, where he was very impressed with our ability to motivate people to act. I wear the band, Unify, Inspire, and Act. And what the back channel is the action portion of that, where we are getting people to actually do things, you know, and going beyond just talking about it. So I know that was a component of 2020. And because of that, we are shoving the bad news off the newscast.
So is it happening? Because it seems to me, again, I didn't watch a whole lot of news when I moved here.
Right.
I've just, the past couple of years started watching. But it seems to me that the news is different. It doesn't seem as negative or as sensationalized as I remember it. But
Thank
I
you.
may be...
No, you're absolutely correct.
Okay.
You are correct. Matter of fact, when I started the back channel, the dirty not so little secret was I was actually so phenomenally bored with my job, because every night that's all we were doing is just coming out, just doing another shooting, another murder, another knifing, another stabbing, another robbery, another rape, and I just got tired of it. And it's to the point where I was literally saying, what am I going to do? I got to do something else, because I can't keep doing this. And the back channel saved my life. I mean, it really saved my professional life, because it motivated me to say, hey, you know something? I'm not alone. It really is somebody out there, and they agree with me. And because of that, it motivated me to start finding more good news. Our station has pushed that direction, where we're putting more good news in the newscast. 2020 is an example. I mean, we are now structured into devoting time to positive news stories about good people doing good things in a community, moving a community forward, that have nothing to do with shootings and stabbings, etc.
As a viewer, I find that exciting.
As a broadcaster, I find it absolutely exciting.
And you know what's interesting about that is that in a way ties back to what we started our conversation on, which is the communication and listening and talking about what's good in your life rather than pushing an agenda.
Well, it's community also. If you lived in a neighborhood and all your neighbors ever talked about was the break-ins and the thefts and the...
You don't want to live there.
You wouldn't want to live there.
Yeah.
You'd be really depressed. That's not what you talk about when you get together with your neighbors.
Yeah.
It's not what I talk about when I get together with my neighbors.
Yeah.
We talk about the good things, like, wow, what a great day.
Yes, which,
You know,
if you can
wow,
hear,
nice, that what they've done at that house is so good. It's positive.
which I should say, if you can hear
really.
the engines, it's because it's boats.
That's because, and that's what we talk about as a community. We talk about the good things in our community. So why in the world did it get to this point where our TV stations talked about nothing but the bad stuff? I'm a big fan of perception is reality. My feeling is if we tell people it's all bad news and it's all murders and shootings, people will
believe it.
And that's what's happened about Detroit. People just believe Detroit to be this horrible place.
Yeah.
And I even believed it when I came here. When the guy who hired me here said, "Come to Detroit," I said, "You kidding me?"
Yeah.
You know, I've heard about Detroit. I know what Detroit's all about. You know what? I was wrong.
Yeah, it's a
And when I got here, I found out there's a lot this place has to offer that we're not talking about. You know, something our station's talking about. I don't know about the other guys, and I don't care, but our station's talking about it.
Yeah, there are a lot of fantastic things here.
Yeah.
So what would you say to somebody who is looking to build a community in another industry?
I think
any industry.
I think it works in any industry. I think the key, though, is you can't come out swinging at your industry. You can't sit there and just say, hey, this is you know what we have to. We can't shill. You can't say whatever. You can identify and say, listen, I want to start a community of people who have an interest in whatever, knitting. I don't care what it is. You say, you start there, but you take all comers, and you make it big enough that people who may just have a passing interest might be interested, and let the community build itself from that point on. And that really is, I think, the important thing is if I had to build this community myself, I couldn't have done it. What I did is I started a community and let it build itself. Because people are constantly coming into this community that I have no knowledge where they came from. And it wasn't from me. It's from you maybe telling a friend of yours that, hey, you ought to check this out. And
Yeah.
And we get people that way.
Well, even just using the hashtag, I've had people ask me, what is the back channel?
And that's the biggest question. What is the back channel? And I'm more than happy to answer what that question is. And I think no matter what hashtag you choose, just be consistent in its use and make sure that it's not all about whatever the hashtag is, because people have bigger interests in that. And even though, as I say, knitting is an example, that's your knitting is your life, and you can sit there and use hashtag knitting, that's all fine and good, but even people who knit have lives outside knitting. So make sure that everything in it's not always about knitting. And because of that, you will bring in other people whose interests extend beyond knitting to sewing.
Yes.
Who
might
you may
then
bring
try
some people
knitting.
in. And they may try it, and they may become part of the community. So I think that's the idea. If you're going to build a community, don't build a community simply for the purpose of building a community about something. Think, first of all, in the larger picture. We just want to build a community of people who will talk to each other about anything, but primarily maybe about this. Obviously, I've got a little bit of power that a lot of people don't have when building a community, because I do have a TV newscast.
Yes.
Although, if you ever watch our newscast, we don't spend a lot of time pushing people from the newscast into the back channel.
Have you even ever mentioned the back channel on the news?
Since I got legitimized by the management, yeah. We've mentioned it a few times. I'll say something like, hey, we're getting a lot of comments tonight from the back channel on Twitter about
it must be so normal
weather.
To me that I don't think I even noticed it.
Plus when we do stories like the bus stop, when we did the cleaning up Detroit story, we talk about the back channel. So now it's okay for us to talk about that. What's really gratifying for me is in staff meetings now, the management will turn to me and they say, hey, is there any way we get the back channel kind of involved in this? Would they be interested? And I said, I'll ask. I don't control the back channel, so I can't say back channel March. I can't. Because that's, first of all, that's not what it's built on. But second of all, I don't know if you're interested or not. But I'll say, hey, listen, the station's looking for some people to come out and do this. Are you interested? And 2 or 3 people say, yeah, that sounds kind of cool. I say, well, good. You want to help round up some more people? Okay. And now suddenly it's not me anymore, it's the community doing that.
Which is nice.
I think it's great. I think that's the only way it works is if the community is if you tried to start a community and maintain it, unless you want to be a dictator or something like that, that's the only way it works. It can't be done with an iron hand. It's got to be done as an organic, community-oriented thing. It's got to police itself. Speaking of which, I've had other TV stations will pop into the back channel every once in a while and try to poach our viewers.
Really?
Yeah. So I've had them actually come in and says, hey, back channel, don't watch that station. We got a great story on tonight. You know what happened to them?
Seriously?
They got drummed out of there.
By the other...
the back channel. The people of the back channel policed it themselves.
Because
saying,
it's impolite. It's like crashing a wedding.
Get out. Exactly. Well, that's rude. Get out of here. Not only am I not watching your station, but I'm unfollowing you too.
That's great.
I didn't have to say a word.
That's great.
And that's just the back channel policing itself. And people will come in and try to spam under the hashtag back channel. I'll see, 7 or 8 tweets
I saw
come
that
out
happen
immediately
one
like
night,
this, and all the same tweet. And I'll even send them and say, listen, back channel is great. We like to know things going on. So if you're selling something, okay, fine. It's like a billboard. Throw one up and move on.
Yeah.
But if you sit there and hit us with 9 of them, trust me, it's doing you no service.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, the people who see 9 of these pop up instantly under different names immediately know what it is you're doing. And chances are they're not only going to ignore you, but they're not going to buy whatever it is you're selling.
They're going to make an effort not to buy it. Yeah.
Exactly. So you're not doing yourself a favor by spamming a hashtag or spamming any community. If I came into my neighborhood and started putting up billboards, chances are I'm going to get mad at the company who stuck billboards in the middle of my neighborhood.
Yes.
I'm not going to sit there and go, wow, look at that. They're selling shoes at half price. I don't care. They just messed up my neighborhood with a billboard. I think if you think of
I'll never buy their shoes.
Exactly. If you think of an online community as a real community, I think the rules all apply. And I think that's how people fail to do that. They think it's because it's on a computer screen that the rules of community don't apply, but they do. Mm-hmm. We don't like billboards stuck up in our neighborhood here any more than we like them over here.
Yeah, unless it's a natural conversation, what do you do?
Exactly.
Yeah,
so I think
sell shoes.
That's how you do it. I think in your conversations it has to come up. Put it in your be creative with your profile. I think that's probably the best thing you can do. What I do is I check profiles every time somebody comes on I don't recognize. I will check their profile, and I'll see what it is they do. And interestingly enough, is I found out that this person is interested in photography, and what I'll do is I'll introduce them immediately to 3 other people in our back channel already that I know are interested in photography. And I'll say, hey, thanks for stopping by the back channel. You ought to talk to Janet. She's into the photography too.
How cool, Janet.
Yeah.
How cool is that, 20 years ago, you were on one side of the glass. You had no idea who your listeners, who your viewers were.
Well, I knew my mom
Whereas
was
now,
there,
you not only know who they are, their names, you also know what they're interested in.
Well, it's instant feedback. In our business, we have consultants, as I'm sure a lot of businesses have. And these consultants are constantly calling us in and say, okay, here's what people want. And they'll tell me, and I'll look at them and say, you know something? They don't. That's what they tell you they want. But I'll tell you, until you sit there with a Twitter stream rolling in real time, unfiltered, do you realize what people really want? They'll tell you instantly. And they'll tell you instantly what they don't want. And let me tell you right now, if I did what you just told me to do, I can guarantee you my Twitter stream would light up with people saying, what are you doing that for?
Yeah.
That's stupid.
Well, it makes me wonder what questions they're asking. Here's the do you want bad news or do you want really bad news?
It's not even so much, although the questions, I've always felt the questions by consultants are always weighted a little bit to get a certain kind of response. I also believe people by nature want to please questioners. Mm-hmm. So if you're called in and a questioner in my business will say, would you prefer to hear, idle chit-chat from the anchors before weather, or would you prefer to get a detailed weather forecast talking about the next 7 days with the temperature swings? What are people going to answer? Oh, no, I like the idle chit-chat.
I was going to say that's what I would have chose.
Well, that's what people would choose, but that's not what they're going to tell a consultant because it makes them sound like they're stupid or something.
Yeah,
so they're going to say, oh, no, I want the serious 7-day forecast. But what I will hear instantly is like, hey, I thought the funniest thing you ever did is when you told Rex Roth his tie was crooked.
Yeah.
That's what people will remember.
Well, it makes you look human.
And I think that's it. And the consultants, they aren't wrong because people will tell them, no, I don't want that stuff, I want this, but that's not true.
Yeah.
Because I find that out instantly in my community because people will respond instantly to the things I say and do. And for me, that's hugely valuable. It's like having a live audience. If you're a comedian,
do realize you're cutting out the consultant.
if you're a comedian, and I've heard comedians actually talk about this, about trying to cut a comedy album without a live audience, they can't do it because they get no feedback.
Yeah.
And you don't know if you're funny or not. Mm-hmm. You don't know what effect you're having, so it's really hard to do a comedy album without an audience. Same thing, it's hard to do a broadcast when you really don't know what the instant feedback from an audience is. And in a way, consultants are doing broadcasts without instant feedback. They're getting thoughtful, considered feedback apart from the actual broadcast, but they're not getting people actually responding to a broadcast. And so I think in my business, that's where the disconnect. I think in almost any business you get efficiency, consultants will come in and say, you need to do it this way.
Yeah.
Well, that's all fine and good on paper, but in the real world, it may or may not work. And I think that's why Twitter has added this component of that instant feedback that tells you what does, in my business, what does and doesn't work pretty instantly.
Well, I think we've talked a lot about what does and doesn't work today.
Yes.
So we should probably take this to an end.
Sure. Well, I
Thank you
appreciate
so
your
much.
interest in it, and I thank you for your part in the back channel.
I love the back channel.
Thank you very much.
That's where I get all my news.
Exactly.